shortage of challengers for his WBA, Super WBC and IBF crowns going forward. Elsewhere, and in Formula 1, George Russell will start on pole for Sunday's Canadian Grand Prix after he pipped Mercedes teammate Kimi Antonelli to pole position during qualifying on Saturday night. Russell went ahead of Antonelli with the final lap of the session, finishing 0.068 seconds ahead of the Drivers' Championship leader. McLaren's Lando Norris will start third on the grid ahead of his teammate Oscar Piastri, whilst Ferrari's Lewis Hamilton was fifth quickest. Elsewhere, and in the NBA, the New York Knicks have moved within one win of reaching the NBA Finals for the first time since 1999 after claiming a 121-108 victory over Cleveland Cavaliers in Game 3 of their Eastern Conference Series. The Knicks can now wrap up the series' success with a victory at the Rocket Arena during the early hours of Tuesday morning. No NBA team has ever recovered a 3-0 series deficit in playoff history, so the omens aren't good for the Cavs. New York had a number of star performers in Game 3, including Jalen Brunson, who top scored with 30 points, whilst Mikal Bridges contributed 22 of his own. Finally, in golf, Siwoo Kim will take a two-shot lead into the final round of the CJ Cup Byron Nelson on Sunday. That's after the South Korean carded a 3-under-68 on Saturday. He was unable to match his heroics from Friday, where he flirted with a sub-60 score, but he still put in a solid showing, and his two-shot advantage is ahead of Wyndham Clark and world number one Scottie Scheffler, who both shot third-round scores of 65. That's all for now. We'll have more later. Here are your latest.
A really good piece by Guillem Balaguer, I think is his name. But anyway, and essentially what he's saying is that Guardiola is amongst the top ranking managers. You cannot argue that he isn't. But then he's actually saying, when you think about it, actually, you can set him apart. Is he the best ever? I think that's his contention. And not only that, it merits thought that, because it's, you think, well, maybe this, maybe that, maybe Ancelotti, maybe whatever, because of Europe. But he's definitely in there. He is definitely in there, and there are reasons for that. He's built three teams at City who are in control of the ball right now. Three distinct teams, and this iteration I think could go on and win more trophies for Maresca, who is going to manage them next season. But anyway, they've got round the back here. Nathan Ake then just got a little shove off the ball. I think Garcia just doing enough there. Pep's won a stack of trophies, and you know what? For me, I think that when I'm thinking about a good manager, I think about somebody who oversees every single thing and who does not let any standard drop. At any given point in the game, a player will do something that he doesn't like, and he'll note that, and then he'll go and have a word with him and say, I don't like the way you did that, or you could have done this better by doing that. And it's called attention to detail, and every single player knows at every single moment they're being watched and scrutinised. You don't get to be sloppy. You don't get to drop off, do you, in that sort of atmosphere? It's not punitive. It's just like, we're going to work on that and develop you,
Yeah, just speaking of sloppy, I have to confirm that Ian Matz fell over his own feet on his own goal line, giving away a corner, John. We'll come back to that point in a second, because there's a set piece here for Phil Foden.
There is, and John Stones waiting in the box. John Stones of England, who will have an opportunity. Phil Foden, not of the current England squad, puts a decent ball in, eventually a half volley, and that's gone wide, just from the edge of the area. Trying to work out who that was. Savinho.
The reason you don't know who it was he's on the left side. It's a real rarity, that.
Yeah, that is rare.
He always played right wing for City.
And I've seen him absolutely destroy Lewis Hall this season, playing on the right-hand side.
Yeah, I mean, Antoine Semenyo is playing right midfield. Phil Foden is the false nine. Bernardo Silva's behind him. I think Antoine Semenyo's best position is the most involved I've seen him, albeit against a weak and Crystal Palace, as Villa play out from the back. He played striker himself that night. And when he's playing as like a 10, I think he's been really good when Cherki wasn't in the team. He sort of just goes missing a bit when Cherki's playing. It's a puzzle that the next manager will have to solve. But yeah, just going on the point you were making about Guardiola, I know it was a few minutes ago, but yeah, it's a real change of the guard, isn't it? You've got a manager that's dominated the success they've had. You know, who knows if this is City going to fall away? You think they're going to be still very strong. Maresca's done well at Chelsea, but yeah, it's almost like a last moment of trying to enjoy it, because the football they play, you might not be seeing this for decades again. There'll be small tweaks and differences, but the rumour has it that Maresca was identified years ago as the likely replacement for Guardiola. So if the succession planning is as good as they want it to be,
and Guardiola had a big hand in the pick as well, but what was mentioned is 3 phases of the game. He still hasn't got the striking thing quite sorted out, but the 3 other phases of the game, the transitions, all sorts of things. It's just miraculous watching it. There were many people who thought that his style couldn't be translated to the Premier League. Wrong. Or that he couldn't take a smaller team, but he did that right at the beginning of his career. When he went to Laporte at Barcelona, he said, "Do you have the cojones to pick me?" Because at that point, I think he'd only had a team sort of in Spanish 3 or something like that, which he'd got promoted. But anyway, we could talk about Pep Guardiola all day, because his list of achievements is staggering. But at the moment, there is a game going on with Villa on the ball. Lindelof on the ball, who started in midweek, who started in midfield in midweek, and he showed as well. He's a bit like an afterthought. Or is he still playing? Yeah, he's playing. He's playing really well.
Yeah, he's done really well. I think when he left Manchester United, people thought that was a bit of a risky signing. He didn't exactly rip up any trees there. He was a bit mediocre for Manchester United, but he's slotted in when they've needed him very well. I've seen a lot of comments on forums and online with how impressed they've been, and you can say the same in the opposite dugout. We've spoken about Pep Guardiola. I'm sure we'll touch upon Unai Emery's. We get breaks in play and the camera pans to him, but what he's done with this team, the success they've had, the success he's got. I mean, he might as well just keep the Europa League and just leave it in his house. It stays there that often in his career, as Villa come flying forward. City struggling to get it back off them.
Yeah, I mean, Lindelof in midweek, I thought he was awesome. Freiburg had a big striker, a big Croatian guy, 6'5", and he didn't get a kick. And the reason was, it wasn't because the striker, didn't play well against Conte. He did, but Lindelof just kept dropping back, saying, "No, I'm not going to let you take the ball." So he didn't. He just took it off him about 3 or 4 times. He just played him off the park. Eventually, he got taken off in the second half. I thought it's like job done, And then they brought Onana on, probably because he could go forward. But I was thinking, there's no way that Lindelof should be out of the Premier League. And if I was perhaps one of those teams coming up, I'd be thinking about putting money down. You've got a player then who can cover 2 positions, a good centre back, a good defensive screen. So yeah, he was really good in midweek. We see a little attack here, but the ball just put too far ahead of Ian Matson. I don't know how he's supposed to get under Ross Barkley's ball. Not quite good enough.
No, he's great run from Barkley. We know he's energetic. We know he likes to be a powerful runner. He's very effective in that regard, but the run was really strong. The pass was stronger, which is he needed a faint touch rather than a powerful one. Pep Guardiola's sat down. He's got Pep Lijnders to his side of him, and pretty animated, but while still remaining seated. You do have that feeling, don't you? There's only been 1 goal elsewhere in the Premier League inside the first 10 minutes. That's at Turf Moor. Wolves have got a penalty, and Adam Armstrong's converted it as Phil Foden stretches the play, and here comes City.
Yeah, they do. With the Savino down the left-hand side, again, I've just got to pinch myself. Yes, it is. Great ball in. Then a shot comes in, side netting. Not the worst move you're going to see. That Reinders, I don't think, has quite lived up to his billing, but it was a decent move. A good ball in from Savino, and sort of half chance there, really.
Yeah, he started his season really well, didn't he? I think he got the opening goal for them, or opening winner, and lost his place since then. I think City have got a bit of an issue in the fact that you don't want to judge Rodri too early, but I think Rodri has never really recovered from his first serious injury, and then every other niggly injury he gets, he seems to lose that yard of pace, which has made him so strong and bullish. And maybe Spain, going far in the World Cup, which they look like they will do, will be no good for him. and they need someone else to step up, like Reinders, like Gonzalez. But if City can get Rodri back, there's a chance they sell him as well. There was rumours that he spoke in the summer that he has a dream move elsewhere, and it's never a good sign when you've got 3 months left of your season and you're discussing a dream move. They might cut ties and move on, which again is such a big thing, isn't it? City have got a big task on their hands.
I always think that when you've got a really good team like City, you always need somebody to mind the shop, and they really haven't got that without Rodri. Nico Gonzalez doesn't fulfil that function for me, but I always think that a wrecking ball, it's not that difficult to make somebody into that. It doesn't have to be necessarily defensive midfielder as you think about one. Maybe somebody with a bit of pace. There's all sorts of candidates I could think. I mean, even Lindelof, but somebody with discipline to sit in that gap. They all seem to want to fly forward, don't they, for City? And of course, he's embraced that. City's all about the overbalance and how they get away with it. Is they do it again just now. They're virtually all parked at the edge of the box. Stones then just flicks the ball out left-hand side, and look at them, completely parked. They sort of redefine the game, don't they? As we see a little drop of a shoulder there from Reinders. Then he gets rid of the ball to Savino. He's stood still. Now Ake percentage ball, maybe not, just chops it back on his inside. Everybody looking to get a touch. The final touch not great. Douglas Luiz side foot blocks it out, but he can only find one of those blue shirts because they're camped, because they don't let the opposition out.
Struggling. Villa are camping, but they're not exactly got much about them in terms of burst out of their blocking. They're pretty rigid at the minute. There's a lovely ball in behind.
Yeah, and then the shot comes in. It should have been a cutback, really. I think was that Foden?
Yeah, that way to the penalty spot.
Yeah. The other thing was there, a player I just don't rate, Bahadi. He was marking Foden, and then he just lets him go. And I'm thinking, do you realise that? Do you know where he's going? He's going closer to your goal. Leave him. He's all right. Just
somebody else's job as Semenyo comes forward. They're spreading the ball around well, City. Here is Semenyo into the box. He's well dispossessed at the last second. But yeah, Villa really compact. They've got everybody behind the ball. I'm worried about their counter-attacking effort. In fairness to them, they've now got 4 players forward.
Because City can't be bothered getting back.
Yeah, but I do wonder, because City have got so many players, is there players that have been brought into this team today going, well, I'm also going to the World Cup. I don't 100% want to go into a 50-50. I think that's across the board, isn't it, today in the league?
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I saw Austin Trusty playing the Scottish Cup final without wanting to kick the ball. He literally did everything he could to avoid doing anything. And I just thought, and I understand it, but he wants to play in the final, but without playing. Anyway, there'll be 1 or 2, won't they? I wonder whether Reinders will get a game next season. I know if I was at that club, I'd be letting him go. I think they've got plenty who can sort of play in that position, really. Anyway, we're just watching that shot again from. In fact, it was Bernardo Silva, wasn't he, who broke into the box? He'd be desperate to score a goal today, wouldn't he? And I've got to say that I had a staggering misjudgment of him in his first season at City. I thought, well, what have they bought? And subsequently, I just think he's awesome. He covers every blade of grass. He's not archetypal, is he, for Premier League? You look at him and you think, well, he's small and skinny. He doesn't look like this incredible athlete, but he's got an engine on him.
Yeah, I think it was epitomised, wasn't it, in the game against Arsenal a few weeks ago, John, where he chased back and raced after. I think it was Havertz running through on goal and cut out a defensive panic situation. Deserves a massive send-off. It's almost like if Guardiola will overshadow it, and rightly so. He is the king of the town and the success story. But you almost want someone like him to get his own day in the sun. The same for Stones, who has done such a big impact there as well. He's had injuries. Here comes Savino, though.
He does. He runs past 2 into the box again. He's trying to roll it across the face again. They're looking for a ball chopped on the inside. I think he got cut out, that ball, really, by the reasonable defence.
Yeah, just noticing this though, as Villa try and play out from the back with Mings. This is really slow from Villa. They're taking a few risks back there. I wonder if this will come back to bite them. One thing I am noticing is Erling Haaland would have been loved to have played this today. A real striker getting on the edge of the 6-yard box. There's no one there.
Yeah, and well, here comes Foden. The first touch a little bit scruffy. The ball scooped away by Lindelof, but the citizens have it back for the time being. Although our referee Andy Madley points at the man on the far side with his flag in the air, so Phil Foden just was creeping there. We haven't seen Ollie Watkins yet. He's had a brilliant end to the season. So much so that I was, at the start of the season, I'd have been umming and ahhing whether Watkins is going to the World Cup, and now I think he's a necessity in the form he's in. The pace that he brings to the party, his appetite to play, which, you know, we saw in Istanbul. He had an incredible game, you know. So I'm really pleased that his end to the season has been strong, you know.
Yeah, he's a different option, isn't he? Ivan Toney is the most like-for-like for Kane. Ability to play his back to goal, hold up possession, penalty threat. Whereas Watkins is more of a runner. You know, he's a penalty taker himself. And, led the line really well. I think Buendia's chipped in. You know, players that... John McGinn, another one that maybe you thought halfway through the year, is this his last dance? And he's really carried the team over the line. And Villa's had a great season. This is a party for them as well. You know, they're in the sunshine today. It's a good test as well. I know humidity is not the same, but just trying to think about what we've got coming up. It's a good test of playing heat. You know, for some of these players, you know, we're up, a lot of us in shorts today, and there's not. You know, I remember some final days when you've got a coat with you because it's a cold day. You know, this is a good chance. A couple of weeks there'll be games played in quarters with the heat. So it's just an opportunity to try and, you know, fine-tune things, especially if you've been out injured like Stones has. To come back in and play in this intensity, it'll be doing the world of good. I mean, 16 and a half in, we haven't got a lot to shout about. Nobody seems to have, apart from Wolves, who are currently going to ensure that Burnley finish bottom. That's the only drama story we have. So
wow. Anyway, who saw that coming? Yeah, I want to talk about... nothing's happening in this game now. They're just Villa playing out for the back with Bizot. I was lucky enough to do Freiburg Villa, and it was an absolute treat. And I don't know if you saw the goals that they scored. They were out the top drawer, weren't they? You know, it's funny. The last time they won a trophy, I was there as well at Wembley when they won the League Cup 30 years ago. Savo Milosevic, Ian Taylor, Dwight York. It's up to you. Dwight York. Anyway, I remember the Villa fans going down, singing that down the Wembley Way. 30 long years, and it's a massive club. You know, Birmingham is a massive city, second city. It's huge. So, you know, it's about time. It's about time. I know Blues fans will be screaming at me at the minute, but you know, it's such a big city to have next to nothing to shout about for 30 odd years is not good enough. But Unai Emery, let's hope that Villa can keep hold of him, because he's an incredible manager. Some last ditch defending there. I thought Garcia maybe scooped the ball onto Nathan Ake there. Apparently not. And it's going to be a corner kick. It's been all City so far.
Yeah, Villa have not touched the ball, I think, more than once in City's half. John Watkins had the chance to counter-attack and turn round on himself, because I think he thought their options were better behind, and I can't argue. I don't think that's an incorrect decision. But since then, City have dominated, but they're lacking a bit of conviction, and that final delivery as the ball is played in for a corner, and the same story can be said.
Yeah, they're coming together there, so again we'll have a bit of time off. Tyrone Mings there, and Nathan Ake. I think Mings has come off second best. One of the features about this Aston Villa team, and I talked about it in midweek, is that they play percentages really well. What I mean about that is that they've got this great offside trap, and they'll get about 3 or 4 of those in a game. Probably not against City because the way that they play. Also, they're brilliant at set piece. You know, they work the short percentages. You know, we're going to get incrementally better. We're going to be better at this. VAR is asking something of it. Is what's going on here? Looks like City might have
high boot. I've seen the replay. The VAR monitor didn't come up on our screen for a while. It's a corner kick. Mings has been in a bit of a wrestling match, and as he goes to boot the ball, I think it's Nathan Ake that he kicks. There's not. I don't know how much contact there is, but the boot is very high. The referee hasn't gone across to the screen. He was walking to the touchline at first, but it's actually to go to the site of the ball where it was played, which I think suggests we're moving on, which we are. But it was a penalty appeal for a high boot from Tyrone Mings that was waved off. I think he got there a fraction early, which has saved him. Issa Diop has got the goal for Fulham in the only other game with a goal in the Premier League in this game week 38.
VAR is Tim Wood today, and worth looking at, but very quickly dismissed. Good.
Yeah, you can say that, can't you? That was quick. A couple of replays. That's it.
You don't mind that. I think that it needed looking at. You know, he did have quite a high boot, and you've got to be careful. He's such a big lad, Tyrone Mings. Another one who, would have been a sort of first teamer. Pau Torres seems to have taken his place in the side. Anyway, Phil Foden now will have an opportunity. Can he deliver a ball in? Obviously, they weren't too disappointed not to have gone to the World Cup, and that goes without saying. Phil Foden hasn't played well enough this season. I think you can't really argue the case for him, to be honest. Maybe off past glories you could, but there's so many in that position that he plays that, as a shot comes in, takes a big deflection. Reinder's effort. Did it deflect off his own man? They don't seem to be lining up for a corner, do they?
No, I've been quite surprised by how deep Villa are. I've seen them maybe make 7 or 8 passes from keeper Bezo to a centre-back inside his own 6-yard box. They're all that close in proximity. Joe Hart is in attendance today, which is quite a big call. Of course, Pep Guardiola in a recent an interview, actually said his one regret. He has, of course, many regrets, but the one that hurts him the most is how he tracked Joe Hart, is what he said. Never gave him a proper chance to prove that he was good enough to be his goalkeeper. It was his first massive call, wasn't it, when it come to wielding the axe, and he decided that Hart wasn't the man for him, but he is there today. I mean, it's been, if anything could be a game of on the beach, this is it. Villa, I don't think would play too many different tactics if they were playing for 4th place today. They would be trying to camp in, but it's City that just look like they're a level below their best. With so many changes, things are struggling to stick.
Yeah, well, here comes Savino again, drops the shoulder. Again, he's slightly less natural on that left-hand side, but he did one inside a corner kick. Villa don't mind soaking up a bit of pressure. They'll play counter-attack. Their transition is usually brilliant, but maybe not with the two holding midfielders they've got, and also not with the fact that they're dropping from so deep, and also not without Morgan Rogers, who is a wow. He's a wow. I'd said from a long time I want him to go to the World Cup, and I'm really glad he is. Oh, here's an opportunity, and the ball has ended up in the back of the net, and it's Semenyo again for City. This time the ball reached him at the far post. The marking is pretty atrocious, and it's signed for into the back of that 1-0.
Really, really nice, timely finish. I think he saw it a little bit later than others. Whether or not there'll be a VAR check for anything in the build-up or any handballs or anything, it sort of just flashed past the near post. And finally a tap in for Semenyo, who's just started to get a couple more goals towards the end of the campaign. He was criticised for his lack of output compared to Ryan Cherky, but right place, right time, John, and Villa didn't deal with it. It's just a Villa flick on. So the only doubt would be whether or not there's a player offside blocking the view of the goalkeeper, which could be Bernardo Silva, but it's whether Ross Barkley is playing him on. I think that could be the only check we have here.
Yeah, well, it looks on to me. I'm looking at the marking. I've got to say it's a joke. They've just completely left him to his own devices. Fresh air, he's never going to score. I always say that, but it remains true. And when they look over their shoulders, I think Douglas Luiz is maybe the biggest culprit there. But they'll all be looking at each other saying, well, why didn't you? Why didn't you? And it's now time for a nice little water break for City after they've scored. So the temperature is quite high. So it's as good a time as any to hand over. We're halfway through the first half, listening to Independent Off Tube. Studio commentary, it is Man City 1, Aston Villa 0, and it's going to be Tom Hill now to take us through to half-time.
Yeah, I did mention that it has a World Cup feel to me with the fact it's sunny. I didn't think we'd get a drinks break, but it is warm. But this is what we're going to have to get used to in the World Cup. They believe it's going to be quarters, don't they? But it's going to be very hot over there.
That's more for adverts and what have you, isn't it? Let's face it. You know, that's to try to squeeze as much money out of it as possible. Do you know what?
You sound like such a cynic.
I think what makes me laugh is because we'll be doing all the games, and those games in the middle of the night, they're a killer, aren't they? Because if you get 2 back-to-back, it's like 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock. There's not, you know, you're going to be faffing about, aren't you? in between games while you're dog-tired. I just know it already. It's going to be a desperate shift, that, isn't it? And I'm up for it. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting concept, isn't it? The biggest World Cup ever in terms of teams. There's, as I say, there'll be some people that don't know there's going to be drinks breaks, but we have had one here. The goal is standing. You almost had a feeling that the goal was being checked, such was the long wait, but we are good to go. Antoine Semenyo has opened the scoring, and Aston Villa are about to get us back underway at the Etihad. We only have 20 minutes left because, well, we'll have 22 to 25, I think, after that goal, because the drinks break was within a couple of seconds of John handing us over. So here come the game again with Aston Villa in possession. David Luiz, who's exactly done too much since returning to the Premier League with Villa.
I was thinking, Tom, yeah, a hand over so you can nicely and neatly explain a drinks break. That's really good of me. I'll hold that one back for the World Cup anyway.
Yeah, I mean it's a concept, isn't it? Like I said, there's a few people. You're looking at punting and having a bet. People are looking at games where countries play all their games on one side of the tournament and then have to go to the west side, which is going to be hotter. Little things like that where players, what countries struggle in the heat compared to others, what countries play in the heat. Ecuador play at a ridiculous altitude. Are they going to find it a lot more easy? They qualified second as well. So.
Are you of the age where you can remember the Republic playing in the United States, Jack Charlton's World Cup side?
I've heard about it.
They were screaming. They were screaming at times. They'd picked a sort of a white shirt to wear with the green trim, but they were just frazzled. You could tell. It's not for the faint-hearted. And it's a simple thing to say, but it's the end of a long, hard season, particularly for the Premier League guys. I wouldn't necessarily expect England to do that well, or indeed Scotland.
No, there'll be a few that will struggle, as Aston Villa are certainly struggling here. They knock it through the heart of the City midfield, who then just pickpocket their way back to Phil Foden, who's dropping quite deep. He plays a risky pass back. I don't think his teammate was expecting that in the shape of Gonzalez, but eventually, even though the pressure from Barkley is good, as well as Buendia and Watkins, City get away from trouble, and it's out to left. A deflection off the boot of Bailey has ensured that City have a throw. James Trafford is in goal, of course, today. We barely had to mention it. You're about to make a point, John, sorry?
Yeah, because Buendia, he goes on a long busting run. He's run about 50 yards just to close down, and his teammates say, all right, and all of a sudden they all close down as a team, and they had half a chance of stopping City's progress. But then typically City have the ball back, and here they go.
Yes, I mean, you're driving in, he flicks it inside, it will reach its target, although I don't think Reinders was the man he originally wanted to aim for. He played back towards Bernardo Silva, so it was actually Phil Foden. Now drilled across the box, nearly fall to Semenyo, as Reinders whipping it in. Villa recover with Buendia. Again, there's a real hesitation from Villa to clear it the first time of asking. Still 1-0 to the Citizens as Villa struggle to play it out from the back. They've given the ball away as Buendia screams in the air as frustration as Semenyo finds Foden. Now Reinders, overlapping run coming down the right-hand side. They've managed to get it to exchange a few passes. Brilliant footwork from City. The ball across the face of goal. That's where Haaland would have been. They've picked up the pieces of Savinho. Mistake from Villa at the back, and Savinho has put it past the far post. Crazy scenes at the Etihad. You've got the likes of Foden, Gonzalez all pushing in. I don't know how Savinho got it. The question is, John, at nearly 29 minutes, is it Rico Lewis? It is Rico Lewis that was bursting into the box. Should Savinho then score? It seems simple enough.
Well, I'll tell you what, shouldn't we do a bit of defending? Just a thought, Garcia there has a chance to clear his lines. Ball rolls over his toe, and then it's presented to Savino. Now it's a corner.
Yeah, long ball to the far post, punched away by Bizot, who's just about got it out to the touchline. He's done very well, actually, and there was Savino's in no rush to take the throw-in. Only goals elsewhere. We have another goal as well. Sunderland are taking it against Chelsea. Wolves beating Burnley. Fulham are beating Newcastle. And Man City, of course, here are beating Villa. The big story as well. Bring that in a second as we get City again. Beautiful footwork. Savinho punched out by Bizot. It'll fall to the edge of the box. The shot's going to come in. It's a tame one though by Lewis, and pinched away by him by Bernardo Silva. City try and recycle this. They've got it with Stones, who would love an opportunity in a little window for a long-range strike today, I'm sure. Here now is Gonzalez, looking for an avenue to spread the ball. He goes wide to Ake. Bailey notices the danger and the territory that he was in, so he pushes up and pushes him back. Out to Semenyo on the wing, and Martin tries to close him down. Fabulous turn from Foden in midfield, and It's actually Lewis. And now Foden was the one that puts it to the far post, but it's a mishit pass. And yeah, just bringing the point, Ezri Konsa wrote to the Aston Villa fans via the Players Tribune. It's a website that a lot of players try and write things to. It's very rare that you get a bit of an open emotional letter, but he said how emotional Unai Emery got when Marco Bizzo got an opportunity, kept a clean sheet and made several saves. And Emery was talking about how he works so hard every single day and he has to let him down by not playing him, and the one day he lets him, he gets him in and he says, come on, I need you, he delivers. And I think it's a big thing for Villa, that that togetherness, and the fact that you can say to Bizzo, you're in, you played well, so now actually you can play the last day of the season as well.
Yeah, I think that Emery's clearly a really good manager. He's done some incredible things to the teams that he's been, and evidenced, of course, by winning silverware. How do you get a team to be a good cup team? Well, there's usually a degree of togetherness there. You see that with the Palace boys, don't you? What they did in the FA Cup last season, and of course they've got a chance to go on and win another trophy. Won't be easy against Rayo Vallecano, but I think so. Some managers imbue that, and it isn't about individuals. Players can flash like Duran, and it's like, well, okay, he don't fit in, we'll let him go. And then it's like, well, you haven't got anybody. Are you really going to go to war with Ollie Watkins? Well, pretty much, yeah. Are you really? And he just does that, and it's like, okay, yeah, but I don't want him, and it's as simple as that. He wants the players who he trusts and relies on, and they can trust each other, and you can see all that in the way that they go about it. Again, we can write these players off, right? But those players know the quality that they've got, and it's like they'll nurse them back into form if need be. Buendia's coming from the cold, but how's he getting the team? Well, he has to keep doing it week in, week out, and build that trust. All of a sudden it's like it all comes, and everybody seems to be in form as well because they're nurtured. They're put in the right place, in the position they want to play, and said, right, go on then.
Yeah, Aston Villa have considered a free kick here. A lazy challenge by Bailey on Savinho. Just to say, by the way, Sunderland's goal will put them in 8th, which of course should signal European football. There's going to be so many twists and turns, and it's going to be hard for us to keep up with who gets what and why, because Liverpool need to beat Brentford, Villa need to lose for Bournemouth to then go up and get the last Champions League spot. And as it currently stands, Sunderland are the team that are taking full advantage of results elsewhere. Bournemouth would get 6th. Liverpool aren't winning, so that means that as it stands,
it's incredible, isn't it? And it was only a couple of weeks back that Leeds had an outside chance of getting European football. I mean, and that's how silly the season's been.
Everton, Fulham, Sunderland, Leeds recently. Palace. I remember a few weeks ago, Palace were in line for relegation. A couple of end of February, March. People were saying, I think they're in trouble. Swings and turns are plenty. We might get a swing and a turn here from the right boot of Antoine Semenyo. From this free kick, he's having a quick look at this. He's got a teammate in Gonzalez alongside him. Semenyo is lining it up. He actually just rolls it for Gonzalez, who hits it, and it's over the top of the net. Bizzo was panicked. It's actually Reinders that's let go and had a dig, and it's a really nice stinging effort from Deani Reinders. Just not enough under the crossbar, but one enough to get the fans rising on their feet.
Yeah, well, I think he beat the keeper, didn't he? But he couldn't keep it in. That's been an important goal elsewhere. In fact,
two important goals.
Two very important goals. Yeah, Brighton 0, Man United 1, Forest 1, Bournemouth 0. They could be VAR'd out of it, couldn't they? So we'll have to wait and see whether we can confirm them or not. Yeah, it's a good effort from Reinders. City have been on top. Villa just. There are too many gaps in what they're doing. When City play their second string, you've got Savinho and you've got Phil Foden wanting to send a message out. You've got Bernardo Silva wanting to finish on top in his last game. You've got all that, and for Villa, you've got one or two hungover lads who, and then one or two who are not quite up to it really. It's that, they just, I think it's what clearly they want to do well, but they're just overmatched, it would appear today.
Yeah, so far, last 10 minutes of this first half, there's a lack of desire from them, which is no surprise. And they don't seem to be at the races just yet. But yeah, goals elsewhere, Manchester United and from Forest will have an impact on that European place as well. As here comes Savinho driving into the penalty, or towards the penalty area. He goes past him. It's a bit of work though defensively at the end from Villa in midfield, and it's a great bit of work as Barkley now can break forward. It's towards Watkins, who had the ball behind him originally, alters his run to get it back. His teammate slips. That was a costly one by Martin, who hopefully isn't injured, as Watkins gets the ball back. It's on a counter-attack here as Watkins just about keeps it alive. And Watkins driving towards the penalty area, step over or two, lays it out to the edge of the box, and it's picked up. Scoop pass inside as a inside run towards Watkins. Best move of the match by Aston Villa. Best move on the match on the eye in general, I think, because it was so fluid. There was a few others getting involved. David Luiz was the one that chipped it.
Yeah.
Nothing to show. Man City 1, Villa 0.
Douglas Luiz, I think he's great. You know, I'd like to see him get a club where he settles down into it again and shows on a regular basis. You know, maybe Villa's not quite the place for him. But again, I think he's more than capable of playing Premier League. You know, there's probably teams in the bottom half who would love to have a player of his capability and just nurse him back into the sort of form that he was showing before he left for Italy. Anyway, here is Savinho again, and he breaks into the box at speed and he shoots. And that shot goes out for a throw. Maybe there's something lacking about
again, but no striker in the box. I'm not saying Haaland would 100% be there every time, but you'd like to think that's the sort of, you know, sometimes watch City and think, I wish they'd put certain balls in. I know a City friend of ours that says he thinks they actually have a lot more of a direct nature when Mamouche plays up front. That's a striker's dream, that ball. He might not have got there due to the power he puts on it, but it's still somewhere that a proper out-and-out number 9, Erling Haaland's in his dress down close today with his hat on backwards. He's got no part to play, but Savinho's been the best player on the pitch in terms of impact and getting past players. Yet to get anything to his name is Antoine Semenyo, that has got the only goal of the game so far. But maybe just the last minute or two we've got a bit more end-to-end. I know I'm maybe clutching, but at least Villa before that did have an attack.
Yeah, they had one little breakout, didn't they? But again, they're just consistently pushed back, aren't they? It's frightening, really, when you think about the players not playing in this City side. I think Doku's had a great season, you know, and you watch Savinho every time he gets the ball here, and he's on the left-hand side, and he's pretty much nearly always beating his man, and yet he can't really get anywhere near the team, can he? They nearly let him go to Spurs last season for 50 million, didn't they? And then they were worried it was going to be another Cole Palmer thing, and so they decided not to. But I just wonder. I know you've got a chance of winning stuff with City, and he'll play a few times in the season, but all these guys want to be playing week in, week out.
Yeah, you'd like to think so. Aki would like to do that. The rumours that this will be his last year. There's a few other players that could be in their last ever games for City. So Aki finds Savinho down the line. He's got 2 players to try and beat. He gets to Garcia and he wins a corner. He's a player that Savinho, I did wonder if they binned him off, would it be a year too early without having a proper chance to see what he can do as a wide player. I think they've got too many players, haven't they, in those areas. You can play Semenyo, Cherki, Foden, Savinho. You've got Doku on the other side. Who knows if Maresca sees this as a different team, as Reinders has the corner lined up. Semenyo, like he was for the first goal, is at the back post waiting for possession. It comes all the way to the back stick. 2 Villa players go for the same ball, turn in the box, and a shot comes in from Gonzalez. It'll fall towards Semenyo. Has a look at the both shoulders. Little drag back to play in Bernardo Silva, who doesn't look in the box with much optimism. Goes to Foden instead. Now it's Semenyo. He's got to try and get past one in the Villa shirt. Semenyo plays the 1-2, gets it back. Next touch is heavy. There's a strong challenge comes in from midfield by Gonzalez, and City can recycle and regroup. Villa still though being penned in. It's all close quarter football from City. They now eventually go for the juggler with a little outside of the boot pass, but Villa had watched that all the way, and a strong challenge comes in. It's Silva as per usual. 6 minutes to go in this first half. Slowly drip feeding goals across the Premier League. The other games that are goalless are Palace, Arsenal, Liverpool, Brentford, Tottenham, Everton, and West Ham, Leeds.
Yeah, the games at the bottom are interesting, aren't they? So it's 0-0, and Tottenham fans will be thinking, do you know what? It'd be typical, wouldn't we? We cop a last-minute goal from Everton, and then West Ham sneak one at the death against Leeds, and then that's it. So they'll still have that fear, won't they? And yeah, nothing's been sorted out. We don't know the who the final 3 that go down will be. Although we do know that Hull will be in the top flight next season, having disposed of the Borough at Wembley, probably just as well, given that they were going to moan a bucket, weren't they, Hull, if they didn't win that one. So thank goodness for that. They've got an awful lot of money to spend, don't they?
They've got it, yeah, I know. They were under embargo not too long ago. So, yeah, not ideal. There's a huge division switches the next year. You've got teams that might be in Europe that perhaps are not ready for it. Sunderland, Bournemouth, Brighton. You've got new managers, Bournemouth, Crystal Palace, potentially Fulham. You've got 3 teams coming up that might not be able to compete. You've got a new change in the guard. Will Annie Slot stay? You know, there's a whole host of changes that could happen as Villa give the ball away, and after a World Cup in which players could get big moves. Yeah, it's a really exciting time, isn't it? I think the only club that are looking, I think, have got a real bit of stability is Arsenal. Yeah,
I think that we've hit the high watermark for the quality of managers in the Premiership this season. I just looking everywhere. Look, they're brilliant managers. You know, as the ball into the box, a lovely little give and go from City, and it didn't quite work out. And then Buendia, well, he just hustled out of it. But when you think about this Guardiola, and then a disciple Arteta, and obviously they're great, and then Emery's won his trophies. You know, then you know, if Palace are winning Europe, you look at him and you go, wow. You know, everywhere you look, there's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant managers. You know, yeah, I honestly think this season, I couldn't imagine it being much higher standard, if you like.
Yeah, just talking about the last chance we had there, which we couldn't shrug John from because City messed it up. They had a really good opportunity to Phil Foden just passed it out for a throw-in. Yeah, I totally agree. I think managerial-wise, I think you have also got the issue as maybe we're losing a few characters. You know, Klopp was a character, Guardiola. You know, there's a few instances where maybe we're getting those outbursts that make managers so so famous and so passionate. See how that works as Bailey tries to play it in, but intercepted by Diaz. So yeah, it's you know, such an interesting next few months for me as City come forward to break off, because they've got a really narrow attack here. It's going to fall into midfield for Phil Foden, who's going to drive at Villa. Tyrone Mings is asking his teammates to help. Foden, it's been taken off him. Shot's going to come in, and Bezo tips it over the bar.
Wow, what a save.
One-on-one, point blank. He looks across at his defence to ask for an explanation. It's Reinders again, John. 1-0 it remains.
Well, that's a great save. It's a brilliant footballing move, isn't it? You know, I know Foden wants to do really well. I'm just reading about how disappointed. It might be a toss-up between him and Harry Maguire, who's the most gutted about not making the England team. But anyway, you can understand that. Ryan there, takes it off. He's trying into the box, and he thinks he's going to go and score. And I definitely thought he's going to hit that one in as the corner kick comes in. Again, unmarked far post. Header comes in. It's been blocked off. That'll be another corner. Ake, they're so close to grabbing a goal. How many times are they're going to be City players unmarked at the far post today?
Yeah, I was about to say that's 4 chances, I think. 3 definitely, where there have been far post set pieces where they've nearly gone close. Arsenal and Tottenham have scored in the same minute. So that is a goal that will ensure that Tottenham have an incredible chance of avoiding relegation. We'll get to that in a second. Minute and a half left of this. Ball nicked in the near post. Weirdly enough, City have had so much joy from far post corners, they go near this time, and Villa clear, as now the referee actually has given Villa the call. I think Reinders was offside, so that's why he couldn't play it. Jampelina has scored Tottenham's goal. Gabriel Jesus has Arsenal's in what could be his last appearance for the Gunners. So we are slowly getting what they normally say the last of the season is the most chaotic for goals. You never know if it's going to be a book in the trend because of the fact that players are thinking about a World Cup. There's so many changes across the board that maybe isn't as fluid. Manchester United have a second against Brighton. A City get through on goal as a Villa tackle comes in. They're trying to clear it with Lindelof. They've managed to just about get it clear, and he needs to get his left boot through this, does Garcia. It's out to Buendia. And they are about to get rid of it, and they do as Barkley gets it. Villa have actually managed to get away from trouble very well as Bailey picks it up. This is a great counter-attack. Bailey has Watkins on his inside. Barkley's the better option who can pick him out. He tries to, but he takes too long. Stones intercepts, and then an incoming run from Buendia gets a block on the clearance, which will ensure it is still only 1-0. lovely counter-attacking football.
Well,
To say they're under so much pressure.
By the time you explained that he took too long, he took too long. And I thought that was great commentary, Tom, because he were absolutely hit the nail on the head. He hit right in front of him. I'm thinking he needed to pass that a bit sooner, didn't he, on his inside? And I think they'd probably go and score. It's only 1-0. How it's only 1-0, I don't know. I keep thinking City have grabbed a second or a third the way that they've played. They're so dominant, aren't they? But at 1-0, you're not quite home and host. So those who launched in, you look at the stats as well. They're well on top, you know, and they've created all sorts of chances. But you know, the scoreboard is the main one, and it's still just the one that they've got.
Well worked out from the back from Garcia. 3 minutes of stoppage time. That was for the drinks break. We've not really had any issues. There's been no malice. There's been no confrontation. Another bad pass from Bezo, picked up by Semenyo, who races across the touchline to go and get it. And it's poked through his legs by Marks, and City get a throw. Of course, we might be having wholesale changes at the break. For both teams, we could be seeing a pre-season feel to our commentaries today for games that, as they famously say, are on the beach.
There's nothing as tedious as a ton of changes, I don't think, in football. I'm sure that they're all pleased with it now, and the bigger the club that you are, the more money you've got to spend, the better subs that you can bring on. It works out in their favour, doesn't it? And it's going to be tedious as well in the World Cup, all the huge amount of changes, but it'd be necessary in the baking heat of the United States, Canada and Mexico.
Here from Bailey, he's actually gone the long way around here. He's kept possession somehow, he's done really well. Had no help down the line. I think he thought that Watkins was offside. It's the right call, but now he's got to get back in position. David Luiz switches the play well to Buendia. City are a little bit outnumbered at one point, but Villa don't pull the trigger. That's allowed Gonzalez and Stones to get back in position.
Well, that's really clever by Buendia. When City lose the ball, they all just congregate in the middle. They're dead narrow, and they try and win it back quickly. You just hang out wide, you're going to get a nice free and easy ball like Buendia did, and all of a sudden they can take a bit of sting out again.
Mings. Minutes or so left of this first half. Picked up by Lindelof. Villa have actually spread their defence way across the pitch with Garcia and Lindelof both at right back themselves. Here is Mings. Play it out to the left wing for Luiz. Wide position for a holding midfield. Into midfield for Barker. Villa now has turned to have a bit of possession for the first time practically in the entire first half. Luiz will look for a killer pass, you'd feel.
How does City do this, right? So they've got this completely changed side, and you think they could be a red hot mess today, but they're not, because it's Man City, and then they look like Man City. They're playing like Man City, and they just park like Man City would do. And you think, but yeah, he's made so many changes. You know, 9 changes from the team they played last time. But it's seamless, isn't it? And off they go again, playing well. But anyway, here's a chance for Villa.
Yeah, Buendia to Martson. Martson's driving into the penalty area, goes to the left-hand side, puts a lovely ball in, cleared away. It's going to be a goal kick, I think, because Diaz fortuitously has deflected it without knowing off a Villa man. He was just trying to stick his leg out and get a block in, and the Villa player was too close in proximity. It's hit him in the chest. It's bounced out. And that should be that for this first half, you'd feel. And that is the first half. Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0 at the break. Thanks to Antoine Semenyo's goal.
It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg, really, for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg, really, for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap-in from a corner, Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half-time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap in from a corner. Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap in from a corner. Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap in from a corner. Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap in from a corner. Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap in from a corner. Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap in from a corner. Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap in from a corner. Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap in from a corner. Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last game. Tijani Reinders has had 2 or 3 efforts. We'd seen the marking from Villa deplorable, particularly from corners, and that's how the goal came on 23 minutes. A tap in from a corner. Antoine Semenyo unmarked. The same happened to Nathan Ake. He maybe should have scored 2. It's half time at the Etihad. It is Manchester City 1, Aston Villa 0. Villa haven't lifted a leg really for City. They've been all over them in Pep Guardiola's last.
We join us then as Manchester City leading Aston Villa by a goal to 0. Ross Barkley about to get this game back underway, and Matty Cash has been introduced by Unai Emery to sharpen things up for Aston Villa. It could be the start of a number of changes for both teams as the game goes on. You never quite know just how this game will pan out with players preparing for next season for the World Cup, as Bezo has possession. We'll confirm that change for you as and when we get the replacement back. Cash was on the sideline with his strip ready to enter the field of play. City go with Trafford, Ake, Diaz, Stones, Lewis, Silva, Gonzalez, Savinho, Reinders, Semenyo and Foden. As for Villa, it is Garcia that has actually made way for Villa. He's been replaced by Cash. So it's Bezo, Cash, Lindelof, Mings, Martson. Then it's Bogard, Louis, Bailey, Barkley, Buendia and Watkins. So just the one change, Matty Cash for Garcia is the difference as the second half has got underway. And Aston Villa have actually started things a bit more positively than they did the first half, because they've managed to go and get an early corner and attack. 7 corners to 1. It is Aston Villa's first of the day, as we await to see what can come of this delivery. Trafford is on his toes, poised and waiting. Left-footed delivery from Bailey to the far post. It's a goalmouth scramble and Ollie Watkins has thumped it home. Aston Villa punish Manchester City. Another far post set-piece goal, and Ollie Watkins to the celebration as if he's lifted up a trophy. He grabs the ball, lifts it to the sky. It's one apiece at the Etihad. Really big moment. Pep Guardiola is barking out instructions to his players straight away. Of course, there's not as much riding on this had they won in midweek for a title push, but there's a breakdown in communication. VAR will take a look, but for now, Ollie Watkins has got the goal.
He sure has, and I think there's been a theme running through our game where you just fall asleep if you're at the far post when you're defending. He gets a little bit lucky, but then he's lively. The ball pings off his chest and it drops to the ground. I think it might have come off John Stones as well, but anyway, it just sits up nicely, and it's a fox in the box, and it's a great celebration, isn't it? You know, here it is, there's the cup, and it looks very much like a football, but they're checking a possible handball VAR, so I didn't notice anything there, but it's one of those, isn't it? I don't think it was, and indeed it was a very quick check there, and so they are one apiece, and what a start. And Ollie Watkins he's absolutely on fire at the minute. He's had an incredible last couple of months. So lively. We were talking about it in the first half, really. And he has just carried on there. But we mentioned it also in the first half. And that's the first attempt on target from Aston Villa. But at 1-0, the game was still up for grabs, even though City absolutely dominated that first period. So Semenyo on the ball, looking to pick it back up. Thanks to Tom anyway for picking us up from half time. I thought a lot more time. And then I thought, well, there's lots of chocolate at half time. I thought you can't have chocolate without a cup of tea, and I was having the time of my life. Anyway, it is one apiece, and so we've got game on after a first half where Villa didn't rate an effort, I think, at all, let alone one on target. Goals flying in all over the place now. Yeah,
Bruno's got a third for Manchester United. Apparently Brighton have been all at sea. Arsenal have a second. They have just put 2 changes on as well. Gabriel and Havertz have come on for them, and then there's another goal in which Sunderland have got a second, and that's Robbie that has that goal.
Yeah, wow, Sunderland could be playing in Europe. Here's a chance for Bailey. He's found a way through, and it's a terrible left foot finish there with Watkins in the clear. Just had to roll the ball to him there, but his eyes lit up because he's in the box. Obviously, we had his time again. Maybe Joe Pokes it's a striker, but you sort of don't blame him really as well.
No, I don't think you do. He should do better. He should be putting it in the back of the net. There's no doubt about it. He should be slotting that one home and wheeling away and celebrating. But that's, I guess, the issue you have when you're a bit in and out of form, your rhythm. Look at Ollie Watkins, gets a snapshot. Look, some players could snatch at that and blaze it over. Bailey had a lot more time than I think that the effort actually warranted. You know, the final product is not the result of the time he had But City have started really slow.
They have. You know, City have got this soft underbelly. That is their defending. That is when, you know, they overbalance, camping the opposition, when they don't do it right, or when they're sloppy getting back, and all of a sudden they can be counted upon. And that is the forte of Aston Villa, you know, who are a great counter-attacking team. Like I said, usually with Morgan Rogers, who makes that transition running through the middle as well as anybody, but with McGinn, Buendia and Watkins, they look a force when they do it. But they've got to go back. My other thought as well is that they probably couldn't play as badly as they'd done the first half. Such a lack of commitment. Then the other thing is that the shadows crept over. So it's about 2/3 now in shadow. They'll all be grateful for that, unless you're playing out the Villa playing out their left wing in this second half. And Villa now dominating possession and territory and doing a little bit better. So I wonder if Emery was a little bit angry at the break, or just what's the point? Why even bother? You know, shall we just go home now? And you know, they're there for a reason, and they brought their fans as well. So it was probably right and fitting for Watkins to celebrate in front of them like he did, and for those travelling fans to see something. I'm sure even the most fervent Villa fan thinks, well, I don't expect anything, and we've won a trophy in midweek, so why do we care?
No, but it's setting the standards, isn't it? If you let standards slip, maybe sends a wrong message. They've come out firing though. Second, it's a different game. It's an actual game. You know, they're actually fighting for the ball. There's nobody standing off. It is almost like he's read them the right act and said, "Are you actually going to end the season like this? They've paid their money. Yes, it isn't the longest trip in the world, but go make them celebrate something."
Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that. It's amazing how a game can change one half to the other. Did the Scottish Cup final yesterday. Dunfermline decided to change their usual script and have a back three yesterday, a back five, and it just invited trouble and didn't lift a leg. Second half they changed it, really got after Celtic, and although they went 3 down, they showed lots of guts, scored the goal for the past fans that they wanted. Yeah, and it reminded me sometimes, you know, you can think, oh, we don't want to get blasted, and we'll sit back and hope we can hang on in there. Well, fans want to see you go blood for guts, really. You know, playing get a goal. It's a free kick in now. Buendia with the opportunity, but he can't get that ball. He can get it up, but he can't bring it back down, and that's his problem there.
Yeah, he had to have a go, didn't he? Good position, you know. So much loft on it. It's a very difficult technique. We almost expect players now to be able to get it up and over the wall, but that isn't the case there. He miscues his trajectory. City are now playing like Villa were. They're pending their own penalty area. At least City this time go for relief and go for a clearance long downfield. But I do wonder if Pep Guardiola, you know, it's his last day. Does he go, right, I want to win this. Let's turn the heat up a little bit, because with the way they're performing, second best. There's a few players that just are a bit rabbits in the headlights second half.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Or perhaps I do, but it's one of those where you go in at the break, you're 1-0, you've dominated everything. What does the manager say? How can he wind you up? He can't really. It's like saying, well done, lads. Here is the Matty Cash now, an opportunity. Rolls the ball to the byline. Oh, that's terrible from Bailey. Just forgets to take the ball with him. Went through his legs. But now it's Villa winning second ball. It's Villa hemming City into their own half. The fans are behind that goal have virtually seen the whole of the game from about 30 yards away, haven't they? At the other end, should have brought me binoculars. Anyway, here come Villa. But a little bit of errant play this time by Watkins, and Rico Lewis should be able to clear his lines. And we haven't mentioned his name much, have we? Rico Lewis has been very quiet today. Again, I think he would have played more perhaps in seasons gone by. Always seemed to be preferred, didn't he, Rico Lewis? A right back who didn't really play at right back, who he sort of adds to the numbers going forward. They don't need him this season. As Cash puts the ball in, then it's a sloppy clearance. And Nathan Ake then forced to play percentage ball down the line. Does better than that. And now the counter attack is on with City, and Savino down their left hand side. Really good from him. But he plays the ball into Reinders, who loses it. And then it's Villa who have it back. It's very tight for them. Oh, and then Nathan Ake, I thought, won the ball back nicely there, but the referee's given against Savino, and it will be a free kick for Villa.
Yeah, I thought Savinho, he could have carried that, but he did the sensible, like, I guess, safety option and try to play it back. Maybe did he overplay it to Reinders? Possibly. There's been goals elsewhere. Tavernier's got a goal for Bournemouth to make it one apiece against Forest. Burnley through Fleming have got a goal, and Chelsea have just got a goal back as here come Villa.
They do. They got round the back again, and the attempted cutback there is deflected, and Buendia's shot deflects into the hands of the goalkeeper, and Trafford an easy catch in the end. Nothing he could do with the equaliser, by the way. It was an easy stab in, a fortuitous effort, really. Just broke kindly for Watkins inside the box, and from 5 yards he's never going to miss. But it doesn't when you're in form. You don't get those chances when you're out of form. For some reason they just won't drop at your feet. But yeah, Watkins has had a storming season. Villa from the start of the season looked pretty terrible, and almost to the tune of thinking, you know, is this it? Is this going to be the season where everything catches up with them, and a lack of investment or what have you, you know? And then before you know it, the form takes an uptick. Most of that uptick was down to Morgan Rogers at that point. He almost single-handedly turned around the start of the season. Semenyo tries to get round the back, but in the end, somehow the ball just scrapes back. Maatsen just doing enough to get in his way there.
Does really well there, Maatsen. It's not a free kick. He just stands his ground, and Semenyo just has to give up on it. Can't foul him, or doesn't want to foul him. That's a good challenge from City. Oh, Gonzalez thought he'd made a good challenge. He might get carded for booting the ball away. I think the referee's going to be kind, as Kovacic is preparing to come on.
Yeah, well, who's he coming on for? Gonzalez hasn't done a right lot. I see Cherky's coming on as well. Always pleased to see him. He's a smashing player. I think he's had a lot to contend with this season because, you know, when he played at Lyon, he's like always one of their magic wingers. And he got more about him than that. So he started playing him on the wing and then playing him inside, playing him number 10 and all that, as Semenyo goes off.
Yeah, I think that's sensible enough in terms of it's just rotation, isn't it? They wanted something out of him. They got a goal, keep him fresh. You know, this is the thing with you got these subs now. You are just going to be like for liking, getting certain players off. You know, Semenyo's been a good signing. Bernardo Silva looks quite emotional, which suggests to me, John, that his career is over in the blue of Man City.
Yeah, it is, and yeah, he's been great, absolutely great. Gets the big hug on his way off. Let's hope the referee would spoil it by shoving him off crying, isn't he? But he's had a great career. I don't know where he goes next. I'm assuming he's gone back to Portugal. His options are open, aren't they? He can do what he likes. And he's earned his ticket. So he's been brilliant. Like I said, really slow start. Liverpool look like they've scored against Brentford. So yeah, quite emotional, and Pep's crying as well. Don't get me started. But it's not often you get to do that for a club, is it? But Bernardo Silva has been great, and he walks off. Kovacic, again, he's another one. He's like, it's such a brilliant player. Last season, Kovacic, I think, was man of the match in the FA Cup semi-final, and then he didn't even make the squad for the final. And that's so typical of City, isn't it?
Yeah, obviously he's had injuries this year to slowly come back in. He got an amazing assist the other week when he fired it through the middle of the team they were playing against to get a goal. Silva's waited for his last tug to be for Pep Guardiola. He got a guard of honour from the City staff there. Lovely touch for a player that has given so much to Manchester City. But yeah, Kovacic comes in, a player that next season, John, as you say, could have a massive impact for them. And let's hope that he can stay injury-free. That's the main thing, of course. A World Cup campaign is something that he'll look to build off the back of.
Yeah, he's a great player, Mateo Kovacic. Yeah, Bernardo waving to everybody now. He's sort of composed himself a bit. That helps me. There's something about watching a grown man cry. I can't handle it. Anyway. And Pep's very emotional as well, isn't he? We know that. It's in his nature. You know, he just is. There's nothing wrong with that. We hit the hour mark, and teammates like try to cheer him up, but he's just in the moment on the bench. Bernardo Silva contemplating what's been an incredible and successful, or the most successful spell of his career. as Villa try and make a little breakout. City have the ball back. Yeah, it's a weird old point this season. When you think about it, there's so much coming and going. Players who don't know that they're playing the last game, some of them.
Yeah.
It's all that kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think as well it hits them hard, doesn't it? I think John Stones, that they unveiled mosaics, don't they, at City for players in the car park at the training ground that have made such an impact. Stones was very emotional at his, Bernardo Silva wasn't. Now it's probably hit him. That's it. I'm done. And I think it is good that he's emotional. It's the right thing to see. He's played so much there. He's had so much success. Guardiola's obviously very emotional. Hard to then switch back on now for City. They've got to try and win the game for Guardiola and their fans, but that's the thing. We're talking more about what's happening off the pitch than we are on, because on the pitch, very little. That might change here.
Watkins seems to be through. He may be offside. A lovely little he's drilled the ball in. It's a great finish from him. I think he might have been off, and they're going to take a long hard look at that. The flag has gone up. I just thought he was just an inch. It was a great finish from Ollie Watkins, though, because you never know. So then you've got to show your skill, and he certainly did that. Put the ball in the back of net after a little drag and a little bit of anticipation. But for me, he'd just gone too soon.
Very close, though.
Tell us what you see.
Yeah, very close. I thought the 1-2 was nice. He stepped up. He tried to hold his run. I think he's on. The foot of Ruben Dias.
Is it Dias or Stones?
You might be right. I think it is Stones.
So
Stones could be at fault for both goals.
So he drills the ball in the back of the net, and then the flag goes up. But it was almost like Stones fell back there.
Yeah.
He just got off balance at one point and then took a step back, and that little step may well have given Ollie Watkins a goal that could take the lead here. So as he got to, thought he was off, but from what we've just seen, I think he may just have shaded that on. And he's a lucky boy, because Stones just balanced at that one point off balance, just stepped back slightly. That could be the difference. Anyway, the referee's got something in his ear, because because the flag had gone up, so the goal had been ruled out. VAR will have to rule it back in, won't it? So that's the decision he's about to make. He puts the square in the air, and he says it's a goal, and it is. So now, Tom, we can talk about how cool the finish was. It's like, don't worry about whether you're offside or not. Finish it first.
What a goal. Looked like he got his caught under his feet a couple of times. The Villa fans have told him, go over to they're lifting him up. They're trying to pick him up in the chair and celebrate. And it's a lovely moment that he's bamboozled them. They got back. They tried to get back and disrupt him. He just waltzed his way past and scored. Simple as. Very, very impressive. Great finish. It's the boots of John Stones that keeps him quite away onside, by the way. There's a big bit of daylight there. Well-timed run. Fair play to Ross Barkley as well, to have the patience and then thread it through perfectly. But once he gets it, Watkins, he's very wide, John. He's still got a lot to do, but he makes Stones guess. A little shimmy off the one boot onto the other, and then smashes it. Predatory-like finish.
Puts it through the legs, I think, of Trafford. It's a canny finish, that, isn't it? You know, it would have been easy to fluff that up. And a lot of strikers in the Premier League wouldn't have been able to make that finish, I don't think. Anyway, here come City, trying to get back into this game. Ball to the far post, and they've seen a lot of comebacks, haven't they? And a lot of late goals that the Etihad under Guardiola. And but can they fashion it for him? Sport doesn't care that it's Guardiola's last game. That's what sport's all about. You know, it's a good Aston Villa team, although you wouldn't have known that from the first half, but here they are. Where Kovacic trying to get them roll into the edge of the area. A little heel, and then the cutback comes in. The ball sliced away by Bahari, I think it was, and then trying to work it left-hand side. Savinho's played quite well today, and he's kept that one rolling. And then Kovacic out his feet. Gonzalez spins it round the corner. What can Cherki do now? Well, he cuts and he cuts, looking for an opportunity that doesn't really come. Ball with Ake. He's driving quite central now. And then the cross comes in from Savino. That deserved better, didn't it? You mentioned the first half, Tom. If Erling Haaland's in this team, he's probably got 2 or 3 goals by now. But Phil Foden just couldn't make the ground up to get a touch.
Yeah. Looking at it, you think to yourself, going forward, should this be a thing for City, putting Savinho on the wing? We know modern football, John is obsessed by inverted wingers, but he's been a menace when they've actually got it to him. It's very rare they've got it to him in this second half, but the minute they do, it should be a goal. And I dare say if it's an actual striker, no offence to Phil Foden, because he's naturally going to be a little bit further behind. I think they score as here comes City, but yeah, City need to up the ante. They're trying to do that now with Kovacic. There's a Villa player down. Whether City are going to be well mannered, they're not. Or I think the referee is actually going to take the decision away from yes, he is. This referee is going to actually stop the game. It's a City player who's in possession, trying to get away, and stood on Buendia, who's gone to ground. The referee's blown the whistle. I think he's ran into him, or either hit him in the ribs or stood on the toe. I can't quite see. But it's a Gonzalez hit in the ribs. It's very,
Yeah.
I want to say nothing.
Well,
I'm not saying it can't hurt, but do you stop the game for that?
yeah, well, it did hurt, but no. Anyway, Phil about to make a change to 2 now. Unai Emery would be feeling really chuffed about himself. He at half-time, what did he say to him? Well, whatever he said, it worked, didn't it? Because they've come out a different team. And I was banging the drum for Ollie Watkins, and I'm pleased I did, because, again, he's had a wow of a game. You know, I think about England. I think about a team where if they end up playing a team they can't get the ball off for Spain or somebody like that, you know, the potential of somebody who can score a goal from the halfway line like he's just done, you know, he's massively important. He's something England don't necessarily have.
No, I said to her that I think Tony's the same as Kane in terms of he's the direct backup option. Watkins is the alternative. He's the other, box of tricks that they can try and unleash. Get him in behind, play him off Kane if they have to go 2 up front if they're going all out. And I just think really well done. You know, to time it so deadly, to win his team the Europa League, to get them top 4, top 5. Of course, this is a big impact, this game, on who finishes top 4 and 5, because of course Liverpool were trying to secure that. They were winning, they're now being pegged back by Brentford. So it's just a really good experience knock about a player that I think people have just forgotten about.
Yeah, that's right. And so can City get going now? Wouldn't be surprised to see City win this 3-2, would it? That's the way that they roll. Lots of subs warming up, and now it's ambition, that drive. At the start of this game, Guardiola had a weird look of somebody who didn't care as much as normal. As we see a shot from range, but that's gone just wide. And Turkey's first effort to really. But as the game progresses, and particularly now that they're losing, you're seeing the same old Pep. He's like, well, no, I want this and I want that. And all of a sudden, he's the Pep that we know and love. You know, the one that's desperate to win again. So he's trying to work it out, and Turkey nearly got one back there.
Just trying to keep track of this on my phone, how things stand. In Bournemouth and Sunderland in the Europa League, Brighton's the Conference League as it stands.
Yeah, that could change a lot, couldn't it? We're going to see Onana come on, and I think that's Tielemans, but anyway. So changes about to be made. Is that Bahadi going off? I don't know. And again, I don't want to launch you into a drinks break, but I think that we are at that 3/4 point, and so everybody's taking a drink, including the assistant referees. Fair play to them. There are a couple of changes that are going to be made, like we said. So Onana is coming on. West Ham have scored against Leeds. Well, it still might count for something, but Everton have got to get 2.
Yeah, I think it is the man I think they regret not starting as drinks break is in flow. Tati Castellanos was the man that scored that in Rockets last week. He didn't start against Newcastle, which they, I believe, are regretting.
I think he's a chier, isn't he? He tries his guts out, and he's got something about him, Castellanos. Yeah, and it'd be a shame for West Ham if they go down, because I think they are a good team. It's not long since they were winning the European title, is it? But you can't sell your best players and continue to do that. They let Declan Rice go, didn't they? It is Tielemans and Onana. I'm assuming it's Bahadi coming off. City about to make more changes as well. So it's like Guardiola is coming on. So any chance ahead it? Maybe.
We shall see as the referee is going to let this game get back underway. There's a nice handshake from Bezo and Church. It's all very pleasant, this, isn't it? Everyone's right happy about each other. All friends, which is nice to see. There's not much riding on it in terms of each other. It's fascinating to see what would have happened had City won in the week. And we're going into the last day, and you've got this game, and you're thinking, well, we've got to keep a track of Europe for top 5. We're keeping track of the title, and then just a drop in intensity is just
there's no
seismic.
There's no way that Haaland would be sat watching it in the stand. It's a weird game, isn't it? Let's face it. And we didn't know what we were going to get, and we said that right at the start. For a betting medium, just one of those weird novelty games, really. But you've got to give credit to Aston Villa. I can say that all I like, but they've come out and showed that they cared, and I think that was important to them and their fans, clearly. So, you know, while they're messing about with formations and players, there's still good players out there. They're still away from home. They were getting battered first half, but Villa have come out and showed that they cared second half, and good for them.
Yeah, really good. Let's hope for 20 minutes we get something to get our teeth stunk into a little bit. You know, we are going to get the John Stones sub, aren't we? And the goodbyes for John Stones. We hope City can make a game of it before that, as Barker's under immense pressure here in his own penalty area, which he does sensationally well from. Not only does he get it clear, he plays a pass to Buendia, who's now found Tielemans, who's driving forward. He has Bailey to his right. Martin Cash is the overlapping option. Cash is bursting forward to help Bailey. He receives it. Watkins in the middle, but he can't find him. Great defending needed by Nathan Aki, because that's a tap-in for Ollie Watkins should the ball reach him. 2-1 Villa. Could have been much more.
Aren't they good though, counter-attacking?
Brilliant.
Yeah, they're terrific. You know, all this without McGinn, like you said, without Morgan Rogers as well, but they have a style of play. They suck teams in and hit them hard on the counter. You know, they used to do that quite a long time ago with Martin O'Neill, didn't they? When they had, had Bon Lahore and players like that, and that seems an age ago. But they've always had that sort of style about them. Now they've got a set piece, and of course, big Tyrone Mings will be desperate to nod one in. Formerly club captain, I'm not sure he is anymore, but I'm sure he loves the club. It's John McGinn now, isn't it? Who's captain, but
yeah, my apologies. It must have been David Luiz. I thought they'd already brought on Tielemans, so my apologies for saying that in commentary. This is the sub that's now being made. John's favourite player, Victor Lindelof. He's making way.
He's not my favourite.
I'm not being sarcastic about that.
No, but I think he's good though.
He has made a difference this year. He really has. Yeah, big moment this, because now Villa have played their card. A few players getting rests, a few players nursing hangovers. We've seen players come on, and Nana will get a chance to try and out-muscle players in midfield if he can.
I mean, the thing is as well, and this isn't lost on me, right, but players who played in midweek are in a team that won a cup, and the Villa fans are going to know those players for the rest of their lives. Lindelof played. Yeah. You can't take that away from it. It's incredible, that,
Sure, for buying a drink or anything, or a meal in Birmingham for the rest of his days. As Villa swing the ball in, Trafford punches it only to the far post though. A couple of Villa players lurking, including Watkins. Martin's picked it up, Savinho backs away as ball's played in. So it was Cherky backing away. And John Stones gets an important blocking.
I think in Istanbul, Ian Taylor was doing commentary. He scored one of the goals 30 years ago in the League Cup final. And one of the reasons why he's doing the commentary is because he's somebody who won a trophy with Villa. It's like the gift that keeps on giving, winning that silverware, particularly when you only get one every 30 years. But let's hope for Villa's sake they do better next time.
Ball delivered into the near post. Trafford's come for it. Villa get ahead to it. There's a player staying down. There's no penalty appeals though. Villa pick it up about 35-40 yards out from goal. Now Cash just inside the City half, floats it down the line. Easy work for Stones to go and collect that ball, and now they bring it clear. Putting himself under pressure on the edge of the box. They were flying into it. It was Kovacic that was trying to take it away from trouble. City have played into Villa's hands in this second half. The traps they've set have been exemplary. They really have. Here's Anana. 2-1 to Villa it remains. Played back in. Tielemans to Anana. Trying to exchange passes. Frustrate the home team. More importantly, just tick down the clock. This would be a great win. You're beating the ex-champions on their own backyard. In Guardiola's, there's little things about personal pride, isn't there? If Guardiola's ever annoyed them or City in the past, you try to make sure that their last day is a little bit tainted. So here is Cash. It's down the right hand side to Bailey. Cash had made another run to help him, but it was ignored.
I just think that Unai Emery is somebody who takes football seriously, and he's got a pride about him. You know, he don't want to be bested by anybody. I remember he had a decent Valencia team that went to Barcelona and got a draw, and he did that by keeping a player fairly unheralded, Jeremy Matthew, in the spot where the galloping fullback Dani Alves was going to vacate, and he kept doing it. And that's Unai Emery all over. Just a clever man, you know.
Buendia outside to Watkins. Shot comes in and managed to be tipped away. Is it off the post or is it Trafford? In fact, it was Bailey. And looking at it, it's cannoned towards goal. It's another defensive mishap at the back. I think it's John Stones again who just cushioned it to Buendia. Out to Bailey. It is the frame of the goal. The upright saves Man City. It saves John Stones, who would have had a part in every single Aston Villa goal, as Jeremy Doku, he's now stripped and ready. City need an outball here as
I tell you
Tierney
what,
Reinders comes on.
You know, when Harry Maguire watches that and thinks Stones in for me, no chance. His legs have gone. He can't keep up with play now of a decent, speedy player. You know, I know he's a good passer of the ball. I know he's quite tall, decent in the air, but you cannot have that massive weakness about your game, and I think it's a real concern for England. He's not had a good game, but John Stones now, he's going to go off. He's been brilliant though. He's been brilliant for Man City. Ake, Stones and Reinders leave, and Stones gets the big ovation, quite right as well. I thought it was a terrific signing for them. They're like ball players, don't they? Yep. You know, and Stones is exactly that. He could play out from the back very comfortably, always been good on the ball. So, you know, that more so than his defensive capabilities, which, as we've seen today, he's been a little bit stretched. But again, reason for Stones to be emotional as he gets the guard of honour, and from the Villa players as well. So, you know, it's a lovely touch from the Villa players. They don't need to do that, but they have done, and that's nice.
Yeah, there's been a round of applause as well for Mo Salah. Mo Salah's career is over at Liverpool. He's been subbed off. I think it shows you, doesn't it? Liverpool would like to get a winner. Salah's off.
I was surprised that he started, to be honest.
After his comments, Erling Haaland's been allowed to come down from the stand. Security are a bit loose at Man City. He's been allowed to come down and celebrate with Stones. All the coaching staff have come across to shake his hand. The players, his mascots. Stones is lapping it up, and Villa's players as well. Of course, you'll have international teammates of Stones that are on the other side of the pitch saying congratulations to you and respecting him. And interesting to see where he goes. He's been linked with, I think, with Bayern Munich.
Oh, right, okay.
A reunion with Vincent.
Yeah, big Meeks goes across, then Bernardo Silva gives him a hug and all that, and says, sit next to me. We're crying each other's shoulders. Stop it now. He's having a sob now.
Yeah, it's got to him. Bernardo Silva's now restarted because he's now realised that one of his best mates is leaving, and you do wonder. Do you know what? Like, you look at shifts in squads, don't you? People leave, and this is two of the biggest names in that squad that are there every year, that set the standards, that welcome newbies, that are leaving. Then you've got the manager that's doing it. You might be looking. Phil Foden's never been coached by anybody else.
Do you know what, Tom? If I was leaving City, I'd be thinking, these lot paid me $2 million a year, I'd start beefing and all. But it's not just about the money, is it? No, it's about the trophies they get as well. I mean, it's a big package, isn't it? You've been somewhere ages, you've been hugely successful, you've been well paid for it, the fans have been lovely to you. You would be crying as you left, wouldn't you? You know.
We see Martin out wide, City 2-1 behind to Villa. There's been a little bit of a lull in the goals elsewhere. We haven't had many scorelines update for a while, as here is Mings at right centre back for now. He gets it away and it's played back inside. Well played by Villa. They've got a trouble yet again. It's been played up towards Watkins, just trying to get past the last defender, which he has. He wanted to maybe hit it first time. He's dragged it back across towards the penalty spot. Here they come, but it's just hooked away. I think it was the last-ditch attempt from Gonzalez that got a toe to it. Ollie Watkins made it look hard work. I take that back. I think he actually wanted to wasn't fully sure about shooting first, so he's took it wide. No one's expected the cutback. He was on a plate.
He's like cut back there to you know, does anybody want a goal here? Because I'm going to lay it to you on a plate. And even then, I think the player who got it didn't expect the ball to come to him, and he should have done, and it would have been game, set and match. But there's a lot of talent on show, but Ollie Watkins is man of the match for me by a million miles. You know, he's a 9 out of 10 today, and he had this intensity in midweek, and I thought I was watching him honestly thinking, steady down, lad. You've got England. You know, and he was running like, you know, he was on fire, like a stabbed rat at 90 minutes when they were 3-0. I was thinking, you don't need to do that. I'd conclude that he must not drink, because there's no way that he's done that, then got K-Lied with his teammates and then come out and done a performance like this. He's a phenomenon, if he is. But I absolutely take my hat off to him. You know, an incredible performance from him. Fulham looked like they've grabbed a second against Newcastle.
Yeah, West Ham look like they've got a second against Leeds. Jared Bowen apparently has got himself on the score sheet. He's doing all he possibly can to ensure there's drama at the end of the season. As here comes Buendia. Lobs the ball into the box. There's a free kick. He put it into the middle. He said to the referee, I wanted that to go early and let me play on. There's a yellow card coming. It's for whoever's challenged him in the City blue, which is Rico Lewis. And is there enough? Oh yes, he picked his leg up. In rugby league, you can't even do that.
No, you can't.
Tip tackle.
And then he grabbed him just in case that his little tip didn't work. So for all sorts of reasons, he's not having a good game, is he, Rico Lewis? He likes to play that inverted full-back role, but we haven't really seen him. I don't know where he is with his form, or what injuries maybe hampering his season or something, but he looks a shadow of the player we'd seen in seasons gone by today.
Yeah, he does, and we wait to see what happens here. We've got 8 minutes. Let's hope for some more drama, maybe a few more goals for City. Can they bow out in style? We wait to see that as the ball is swung in towards the far post. There's a couple of players on the deck for Villa, 3 of them, including the latest arrival in Pau Torres, but Torres is on the ground, and we wait to see. Oh, he nearly gets there. It's the defending, the last-ditch defending, I think, from Ryan Aït-Nouri. He's just got a little hold on him, gives him a bit of a nudge, puts him off, and it ensures that it's just a whisker away from the ball. Very clever from Aït-Nouri not to actually fully extend the arms and just have a little tiny push on his shoulders. As here come City, this time with
I've got a question to ask you,
Sorry, John.
That you may or may not know. If Crystal Palace win in Europe, does that get them into Europe?
They should get Europa.
So there might be 9 teams playing in Europe out of the Premier League sides. Then at the moment it's Arsenal, City, United, Villa, Liverpool, Bournemouth, Sunderland, Brighton, and if Palace win, they make it 9.
Yeah, there'll be 9. There was an article on the BBC. There'll be 9 Premier League clubs made for this competition if Aston Villa win. And so we'll break off because here is City. Sevilla runs into traffic. It is a nice backheel from Buendia, who's oozing class out there. Martin, he joins in. What a nutmeg. City are unable to stop them in their tracks. Tielemans, inside it goes to Bailey. Now a turn from Barth, a little pop of the right boot back to Tielemans to give him some space. The Belgian gets away from traffic. City have made all their subs, by the way, so there's no Marmouche opportunity to get some minutes into the legs, which could have been really beneficial ahead of the World Cup in a few weeks. He's a player that's probably disappointed, dropped down a level this year.
I think so. It's a team notoriously hard to get in. Doku last season, I was thinking, well, where's the end product? This season, you found the end product. You know, you look at certain players and they flash for a while. I thought for a week or two, Foden's back, and then he just tailed back off again. You know, they've got great players, and if they hit their straps, then you know you're thinking, well, how can you get past a Cherky who's on form or a Haaland that's on form? You just don't, do you? So it's such a difficult. And then you know they drop Semenyo into the mix, and you think, well, didn't you have enough already? Apparently not. You know, it's such a hard team to break into.
Yeah, it really is. As City, this man included, in Trafford, well on his way. There'll be tons of suitors that want a goalkeeper of his calibre, or at least willing to take a loan on him. Could lighten the load on City's wages. I say Leeds United might be the front of the queue.
Well, do you know what? He's dead unlucky, isn't he? And that's denoted by the fact that he's got the number 1 shirt, because when he signed, he was going to be the number 1, wasn't he? And that's it. Oh, hang on, Donnarumma's available, you say? Well, do you know what? We'll have him. Yeah, Donnarumma is a hell of a signing, and it's no disrespect to be playing second fiddle to that boy, but for Trafford, he deserves to be number 1 somewhere.
Out towards Doku. Doku drops the shoulder, driving to the edge of the penalty area with the Lancet. Goal! He's curled it wide. 5 to go. Jeremy Doku's had a real plethora of highlights in the last few weeks that of all of this nature, curling in, whether it be his right or his left, and having a dig, and that isn't too far away. City were really hoping that he can carry this form into next season, because he's actually started to get an end product to his shooting side of things.
Yeah, I think that ball bobbled before he hit it, and it just took it away. Barkley's going to go off now. It took him a while to get going. He wasn't good in the first half, and McGinn comes on. Again, he's sober. Have they breath tested him? I'm sure he had a drink, a good swally after the final. He gets the captain's armband on. McGinn wants to finish the season off, and that's skipper's privilege, isn't it? So yeah, he'll go on and enjoy that. Well, I think that there'll be just a big celebration at the end, and the Villa fans will be staying there for it, because why wouldn't they? You know, they're cup winners.
Just about to add to that, got a message through that says how this is going to happen at Palace, because Palace's end of season lap of honour, because of course they're at home, will take place, meaning Arsenal's title trophy parade will take place at 6:30. So Arsenal and their fans will be staying in the ground until 6:30 until Palace have cleared out, and then they can lift the trophy to an away end. I do wonder if Arsenal would be better off saying to, you know, I know you've got to celebrate in front of their away fans, take it to the Emirates, you know, because they're not that far away, are they? Here comes Markson on the attack. They're going to drive forward here with the defender. He's got McGinn is inside. He plays it to him. The Scotsman's a little glance at goal, and Trafford has to punch it wide. It was maybe nestling in the far corner. Aston Villa on the counter-attack today have purred all afternoon in the second half, and that was nearly the latest addition. Replay suggests perhaps hitting the post. How could James Trafford have done?
Yeah, well, he didn't, and he gets there, makes sure. I think, yeah, it pings off the post, but if it pings off the post, then somebody rebounds it maybe. Villa have been incredible in the second half, and it's been that weird old game. I'm not sure they had shot on target in the first half. In the second half, it's been all Villa and literally nothing from City. You know, football is strange, isn't it? And this game has been such an oddity, really.
Yeah, corner coming in, sun in the eyes of the take to the far post. It's a battle which Watkins tries to get up, and when he's thrown to the floor by the collision, he just headed it up into the air. Pep Guardiola again looks on. He isn't going to allow his tenure to finish with a whimper in terms of sitting and not playing much, but then just sitting, give out a few instructions, and then just waft his arms around like he's lost. I would like to compare that to when you're running for the bus and you see it and you've missed it and you just put your arms.
Then you
That's what Pep Guardiola's just done.
And then you walk the next 2 or 3 steps. I wasn't really.
Yeah, no. Stretching my hammies out.
Yeah, I wasn't running for the bus anyway.
Here is Aït-Nouri. Doku blocks off a defender in Cash. Aït-Nouri gets it to the byline. Cherki gets the ball taken away from him. McGinn picks it up to Watkins. Here is perhaps another counter-attack, and they've got the energy because McGinn is one of the subs. He'll drive it forward. I think he's realised the players in front of him are not as determined, and John McGinn perhaps looks like he's been still drinking from his celebrations because he just kicks it out of play for a throw-in.
So he had nowhere to go, did he? But Watkins again just hold up play there, made sure nobody could get through the back of him, just touched the ball off. He could back to goal. He peels off left and right. How hard has he worked, particularly the second half? In the first half, his teammates couldn't find him. You know, they just got suckered into doing what City were doing, just putting them on their back foot. But they've played their game second half. They've got it going, got their counter-attack going, and he's just been absolutely fantastic. And you know, he deserves to be on the winning team today. But here comes City. Yeah,
I love the ball in behind. The cutback's behind everybody though. It's picked up by Bailey, who needs to put his foot through this. He'll get walked into trouble. Good tackle from Aït-Nouri. Not punished though. Bailey should have just put his foot through that and sent it to the other half of the Etihad Stadium pitch. He hasn't. Here's Doku now going to have the chance to run at Cash. He bursts a lunging left legger in to try and put him off. Here is a beautiful ball in from Kovacic. Left-footed strike from Foden, who drills it into the roof of the net. Kovacic to Phil Foden. Man City 2, Aston Villa 2. About 10 seconds left of normal time.
Well, he was on the half turn there. I think that's again tight. VAR may look at that, but anyway, it was a great move. Doku into Foden, turned on the sixpence. You know, we'll have to take a look. It was tight. What do you think?
Tyrone Mings, I think he's off. I think it's pathetic. We're talking elbows. I think his elbow's slightly behind Tyrone Mings', but we are going to have a VAR check.
Yeah, it was that tight. Villa are the masters of the offside, but Mings maybe a little bit tired there, just got caught out. They were in a reasonable line. It wasn't like a dog's hind leg or anything, but Tyrone Mings there, you know, just was a shade behind the other villains. That being said, maybe Foden just an inch off, and it wouldn't have been his fault there. I think he's turning sort of on the blind side of the defence, so he can't look down the line where he is. He's just unlucky if it's ruled out. So close that.
No, the Watkins one looked, I thought straight away, we both looked at each other and went, oh, he's on. This one is like, this is where they are going to have to draw the lines. Referee's blowing the whistle. Offside.
That's a shame, isn't it? But shame for Guardiola and a shame for Phil Foden, because he was unwitting. And it's a typical, I was talking first half, how many times Villa win that offside. They're disciplined, they hold their line, they hold their shape, you know, and it makes it difficult to wriggle around them. And it's still Villa then on the lead, and we've into 10 minutes of added time. I don't know where they found 10. And it's just the backside of Phil Foden that's
they're going to be giving 2 minutes per standing ovation, aren't they? Because they were in no rush. They had the second energy drink break, which was another 2, so that's 6. And 10 subs each. 10 subs between each. So 30 seconds sub they cleared.
Yeah, but they didn't have to do that.
I think the thing is, obviously, it's the end of season. You think maybe that fans who don't care about the end result from elsewhere think, oh, it's a bit needless, but I guess they're doing their jobs as Villa are flagged offside here. But we're already 2 minutes into it. There should therefore then be an extra, because we went into stoppage time. Crystal Palace, by the way, have got a goal back and perhaps got a second against Arsenal.
Wow. Never-ending season. 10 minutes, and now he's having a word, so there'll be 3 more minutes. I think they're moaning about the VAR. They're saying, was it really his backside that you know, that is that the difference? But anyway, it was. So yeah, City get the ball back. They're disappointed, but they'll have to crack on. There's still plenty of time for them to you know, to go on and win the game, really. But anyway, Guardiola doesn't. Just showing us the offside again, and clearly his backside's off. I don't know what, you know, why they're bothered about that.
No, I guess it's, you're so desperate to end on a high. I guess you will moan at the margins, won't you? Here comes City. They have upped the ante a little bit. Ike Noda, though, of all people, is playing at 10. He's got teammates waving their arms around at him. This is the man they want on the ball in Ryan Cherky. He goes out wide instead, this time to Lewis. Out to Savinho. Return pass towards Lewis. Pau Torres is going to usher it out. Goal kick. Great defending. Really important. Crystal Palace's second goal, by the way, is having a VAR check, so that isn't yet officially 2-2. But really nice approach that from Villa. City, I think, are just having the hangover effect of they've made that many changes. Players that are receiving the ball in certain areas are the opposite players you want to have the ball. You don't want Ryan Ike-Nouri at 10.
Not really.
You don't really want Rico Lewis at right wing back.
No,
Matheus Nunes has the better end product.
Yeah, you don't. But again, Rico Lewis, he'd always played that folded-in right-back thing anyway, where he's like a water carrier at the edge of the box rather than a defender. But he's just not worked today, really. He's just not shown for the ball or been involved enough. Yeah, there's been a lot off. I mean, the first half they looked like I was amazed that they played so well. They just looked like City as normal. But this second half, they've been so far off it. I don't really understand what. I'd love to know what Unai Emery said at the break, because it's been a remarkable transformation from a team who didn't have a chance, who didn't have a shot, to a team who are completely on top and ruling the roost.
Yeah, here come Villa with Martin. Palace's second goal was disallowed, by the way. So every goal we've brought you, try and check everything. 2 teams that have not scored today are Everton and Leeds United, as well as Newcastle and Brighton. So it's the 4, should I say, that have not found the back of the net on the final day of the season. There is still time for all of that to change, though. So here is Bezo looking for a long pass downfield, which he thumps up towards Watkins, headed away by Diaz. Now calmly back to Nuri, will skip and shimmy away as he goes and finds midfielder Gonzalez. Now works it further wide to Lewis. Here now is Sevilla. Continue to purr forward here, City. Gonzalez looking for a way through. Runs out of ideas, just runs into 3 Villa players and says, I'll turn round on myself. This man won't do that. You'd feel he'd be looking for a forward pass, and Cherky tries to play that forward pass, dinks it in behind. He's just a threader of the ball that everyone knows what he's going to do. He still does it. It's just his world that they live in at times, and I would love to see him as a regular starter in that team next season. There's about 5 minutes left of the allocated stoppage time. I still think we'll get a bit more than that, but
I think it's for me it's like an impossible thing. You know, you've got to let players down. I think that was one of the things that Guardiola liked least about being City manager. You're leaving good players out all the time. But Cherky's got to start for me. You know, I'm thinking, you know, then you've got Semenyo and between him and Savinho. And we'd seen Savinho today. Look, he was their best player the first half, wasn't he? And so it's a noodle scratcher, all right.
West Ham have scored a third. Callum Wilson has got it from Aston Villa. So West Ham have done their bit. They need Everton to score 2 goals in stoppage time. Coincidentally, Everton and Burnley, the 2 games that are behind everybody else, as Tielemans let fly down the throat of Trafford with a few minutes remaining.
Yeah, well, hell of a way to bow out for West Ham. Can they keep hold of Jared Bowen? I don't know. There's too many gaps. I think they're not shooing to go straight back up, are they? But anyway, we'll see. Obviously, a long, hard pre-season, and that miserable pre-season where you're thinking about who you're going to lose rather than who you're going to get, and then you still don't know until even when the season starts. Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, opposite for Spurs, isn't it? Roberto De Zerbi, fresh challenge. Does he cash in on a few players and get rid and really start to build something? You'd feel, they said this last year, Spurs will never be down there again, but they've got to invest properly, haven't they? As here is Doku from a Kovacic pass. Doku inside, drills the ball at the legs of Cash. It's going to be headed back by McGinn. That's as cool as you like. He does the opposite to what everybody thinks. Marco Beasley's going to stand on this and just turn the screw on City just to frustrate them a bit.
I tell you what, the other thing, the unknown quantities look, isn't it? Spurs have had all sorts of injury problems this season. With the squad that Maddison came back the other day, and I thought he's such a good player. I'm thinking, again, if he's back fit and playing well, then you play him in. If you're a 4-2-3-1, it's a shoe-in. The last manager I went 4-3-3, and you couldn't find a place for him in the team. But it's weird, isn't it? Different managers, different styles. But yeah, he's definitely good enough. And then Kulusevski and players like that. So Spurs have been dead unlucky, really.
Ball forward, headed away by Diaz into Gonzalez. Kovacic is asking for it. Gonzalez isn't even looking at him. The jury's out for me on him of what he provides to this team. He's supposed to be the Rodri successor. I don't see the vision. I don't think he's got the class that Rodri has in possession.
He's nowhere near as good.
He had a player within 3 yards of him waving his arm at him to say, hey, look, have a look at the space. I mean, he didn't even turn his head left while that's where the goal is.
He's not the wrecking ball when he needs to be. He hasn't got the vision. There's nothing about it really. On off times, I think he finds himself in the wrong position. It's chalk and cheese between those two.
Here is Cherky looking for an avenue, slots it into Foden. Foden's got a little glance at goal as he shimmies one way, then the other. Villa with Onana try to take it from him. Doku's trying to get to the byline. He'll swing the ball in. Mings gets it clear. It's out for a throw-in. There's a minute of the stoppage time. I still think we're going to get an extra. Villa have more work to do. Key players are purring for City. The likes of Foden, the likes of Cherky, they're coming for the ball a bit more. Pep Guardiola, he stood up on the touchline now looking for a blockbuster finish one last time. Cherky's trying to provide that. Villa just usher him off the ball. Tielemans, they need to get clear here. It's not the best clearance from Buendia, looking for Tielemans. There's a free kick appeal from City. They're not going to be heard. Villa want the same thing. It's out to Kovacic. Kovacic's going to let one fly, and it's blocked off the legs of Mings. Picked up by Doku on the edge of the touchline. He's now going to drive forward. Doku skims one Villa player. Now looking for a return pass to Aït-Nouri. Runs into traffic. Bailey goes without the ball. Villa are guilty of this for so long in the second half. Doku try to drive through into Foden. Tielemans, someone has to put their thumb through it, and Yuri Tielemans provides that magic touch. If you were playing rugby union, you'd be delighted if it had just gone 1 yard further out of play, but Trafford has to race across his pitch to go and get the ball. Now out to Lewis. Stoppage time is up. Lewis wide, it goes to Cherky. Villa with Martin trying to force him wide. Martin's trying to not bait. Cherky's managed to keep it alive somehow. Still dribbles his way across the pitch. He just about keeps it in twinkle toes. It's gone behind. It's took a deflection and it's gone for a corner. Villa are absolutely incensed. They've let that go, Aston Villa, because they think it's a goal kick. This shouldn't be happening according to them. They had a chance to clear it and did a dummy clearance on purpose.
I think Buendia, yeah. I didn't know it was a dummy clearance or an air shot, but I was assuming he stepped over it because he thought that it was going to be a goal kick.
Guardiola and Emery have come across to shake hands. I think that's just a sign of respect rather than full time, because them two have battled. They may battle again. Who knows what the future holds for Pep Guardiola, as the clearance the ball in from City is awful. Buendia needs to get rid of this. He's trying to hold it. He's trying to buy a free kick. He does buy a free kick, and Aston Villa have come back here from trailing a goal to nil against Antoine Semenyo's opening strike. And I think once this free kick is taken, John, 3 points will be theirs.
Yeah, it looks like it, and they've been good value for it. I've got to say, terrible first half, but they showed their quality, come back in the second half and won the game. And in fact, the referee has blown his whistle, it seems, unless he's just shaking hands with everybody.
I think just shaking his hands for everybody. I think he wants to do it before maybe it gets a bit hectic out there for him.
Maybe, but disappointing way for him to bow, but he should care really, because, you know, he doesn't owe that club anything, does he? You know, the amount of success that he's had. The referee, does he find he keeps getting up and down?
The game's back on the way. We don't know it is, though, by the way. I think it's over. It is over, because everyone just keeps showing us Pep Guardiola. His tenure as Man City boss is done. Aston Villa will go back to the action, have beaten Man City by 2-1, and that is the final action of the Premier League season. Once again, thank you for joining us.
Our next football commentary match is getting ever nearer, so why not take the opportunity of having a bet on the match? Whether you're interested in betting on the match result, the first player to score, the last scorer, correct score, double result, total goals market, handicap betting, or any other of our exciting market, it's fun to be involved. Don't forget, when the match kicks off, you can sit back and enjoy superb independent studio commentary while also enjoying our in-play betting opportunities. Good luck. Our next football commentary match is getting ever nearer, so why not take the opportunity of having a bet on the match? Whether you're interested in betting on the match result, the first player to score, the last scorer, correct score, double result, total goals market, handicap betting, or any other of our exciting market, it's fun to be involved. Don't forget, when the match kicks off, you can sit back and enjoy superb independent studio commentary while also enjoying our in-play betting opportunities. Good luck.